Hello children. Today we are going to start with Geography chapter 2, that is Interior of the Earth. As we have discussed in the previous chapter that our Earth is a unique planet because it is the only planet that has life. So when we talk about our Earth originated around 5 billion years ago. Initially when it was originated, it was hot and molten. But later on, by the time it started cooling down. So when it cooled down, the material which were heavier like iron and nickel, they gathered at the center of Earth. Or we can say the center of Earth is made up of heavy materials like nickel and iron. And the lighter elements like aluminium, they remained at the outer layer. So in this manner, our Earth got the form of several layers, or it got the appearance as it is looking now. So in this chapter, as we are going to study about interior of the Earth, so first thing which we should know is that our Earth is in the form of layers, or the interior of the Earth is arranged in the form of layers one over above. You might have seen an onion. If you are going to cut an onion, you will see different layers inside it. In the same manner, our Earth is also having different layers inside it. So the layers of the Earth are crust, mantle and core. Crust is the outermost layer, mantle is the middle layer and core is the inner part of the Earth. So now we are going to discuss about all these three layers in detail. At first we are going to study about crust. Crust is the solid and the outermost layer of the Earth, or we can say crust is the surface of the Earth. Crust provides a base to oceans and continents. The thickness of crust on the continent is around 35 kilometers and it is about 5 kilometers deep when we talk about the oceanic base. Crust provide a base for the living organisms to survive. Density of the crust is about 2.7 gram per cubic centimeter. The volume of the crust is 0.5% of the total volume of Earth. A crust is made up of various elements like sulfur, sodium, oxygen, but still silica and alumina are the most important element of our crust. That's why our crust is also called as Cl. Here Si stands for silica and Al stands for alumina. And when we talk about the oceanic crust is basically made of silica and magnesium. That's why ocean crust is called as Sima. So this was all about the crust. Now we'll be discussing about mantle, which is the middle layer of our Earth. And it lies between crust and core. The extent of mantle is approximately 2,900 kilometers. So the crust, its density ranges from 3.5 to 5.5 gram per cubic centimeter. Volume of mantle is 16% of the total volume of Earth. Mantle is made of various elements like basalt, granite, sodium, sulfur, etc. But here too, as silica and magnesium are the major elements, mantle is also called as Sima. And here Si stands for silica and Ma stands for magnesium. Next we'll be studying about core. Core is the innermost part of our Earth. It extends from 2,900 km to 6,400 km below the surface of crust. The density of core varies from 9.9 to 13 gram per cubic centimeter. The diameter of core is 3,500 km. Core even forms 83% of the volume of the Earth, as core mostly consists of iron, which is ferrous, and nickel. That's why core is also called as Nife. Here Ni stands for nickel and Fe stands for ferrous or iron. This layer is having very high temperature inside and core is almost made up of molten matter because of the high temperature inside it. Now we are going to study about the usefulness of different layers of earth. First of all, let us discuss about crust. We all live on the surface of earth. So we cannot imagine to have a homeland without a surface. So we can say that crust provides a homeland or a base for survival of living organisms, for animals, for forest, and even all other forms of life. When we talk about mental helps in producing seismic waves which help us in studying about the interior of earth. Even these layers are a source of minerals for us. And when we talk about core is basically called as magma generated zone. This leads to the formation of various types of rocks on the surface of earth. So now we are going to study about rocks and minerals or the materials of the crust. As you all know, crust or the outer surface or lithosphere is made up of soil and rocks. Basically that soil is somehow a part of crushing of rocks. So when we talk about rocks, there are different types of rocks on the surface of earth. And these rocks are basically made up of minerals. And the minerals are made up of the basic substances called elements. Elements are the base for the formation of minerals, and minerals forms a component of rocks. Now we are going to study about rocks. Any natural thing made up of minerals and is a part of Earth's crust is called as a rock. A rock is basically a combination of two or more minerals also. And as per their formation, they are even hard, soft, or even elastic. A rock does not have any specific property. So now when we are going to study different types of rocks are classified on the basis of their formation. Every rock has its different physical properties. It has its own color, texture, size, appearance, position, hardness, softness, etc. So when we talk about different types of rocks, there are three different types of rocks: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic rocks. So now we are going to study about these three types of rocks in detail. First of all, we'll discuss about igneous rocks. The word igneous is taken from a Latin word ignis, which means fire. So we can say that the igneous rocks are the rocks which are made from fire. Igneous rocks are formed by the solidification of molten lava on the surface of the earth. These rocks are even called as the primary rocks because the other rocks are formed from these type of igneous rocks. Igneous rocks forms 85% or more of the earth's crust. Igneous rocks are basically called as igneous because they are formed from molten lava. The magma which is inside the surface of earth comes out in the form of volcanic eruptions, and when this lava which flows out onto the surface of earth, after coming out, because of less temperature, it cools down and solidifies and results in the formation of igneous rocks. These igneous rocks are basically shapeless and they are not found in layers. These rocks are basically crystalline in nature and they lack fossils. It means these rocks does not contain any sort of fossils. These rocks are basically very hard. So example of igneous rocks are basalt and granite. These rocks are very hard. You might have seen granite, which is used mostly in your kitchens for forming the slabs. As it is hard, it can bear more amount of weight. As we have discussed that igneous rock are formed by the cooling and solidification of lava. So in this manner, igneous rocks are further classified into two types: intrusive igneous rocks and extrusive igneous rocks. So we are going to discuss about intrusive igneous rock first. When the magma cools down deep inside the surface of earth or deep inside the crust, it leads to the formation of intrusive igneous rocks. And as the rocks are formed inside the crust, they are called as intrusive. These rocks are even called as plutonic. Granite is an example of intrusive igneous rock, and as we have discussed now, that granite is a very hard rock. That's why it is used to make grinding stones, which are used to make powder of grains. Next is extrusive igneous rocks. When the magma comes out and cools down and gets solidifies onto the surface of earth, this leads to the formation of extrusive igneous rocks. These are called as extrusive because they are formed outside on the surface of earth. These rocks are even called as volcanic rocks. Extrusive igneous rocks basically have a grain structure or a rough texture. If you will touch these rocks, you will find it bit rough or coarse. The Deccan Plateau in India is made up of these rocks. Basalt is an example of extrusive igneous rocks. Deccan Plateau in India is made up of extrusive igneous rocks, which led to the formation of black soil in the plateau region, which is good for growing cotton. Next we will be discussing about sedimentary rocks. The word sediment is basically taken from a word sedimentum, which means settle down. These rocks are generally formed by the sediments of other rocks. Other rocks, when they are broken down due to the weather agents like fast running water, strong winds, or due to any other weather conditions, then it results in the breaking down of these big pieces. And when these pieces of rocks are carried from one place to another due to the action of wind and water, they are being carried from one place and deposited onto other place. And with this continuous deposition of these sediments one over the other, it resulted in the form of layers of sediments, and due to the pressure, these layers of sediments are converted into sedimentary rocks. As the sediments are deposited in layers, so these type of rocks are also called as stratified rocks, because strata is the word which is used to specify different layers. These rocks are basically rich in fossils, because as these rocks are made up by sediments or by the broken pieces of other rocks, so it consists of the remains of dead and decaying plants and animals, which acts as fossils. That's why these rocks are rich in fossils. Example of sedimentary rocks are sandstone and chalk, which you have seen regularly in your school. Next we are going to study about metamorphic rocks. The word metamorphic is taken from a word metamorphosis, which means change in form. Metamorphic rocks are formed by change in the form of igneous rocks or sedimentary rocks. When igneous rock or sedimentary rocks are transformed due to excess heat and pressure, then they result in the formation of metamorphic rocks. Even the formation of metamorphic rock is a long process and it takes a long period of time. The reason being, when these other type of rocks are facing excess of heat and pressure for a long period of time, then only it gets converted into a metamorphic rocks. Some example of metamorphic rocks are granite is converted to gneiss. Coal is converted to graphite. When we talk about sedimentary to metamorphic, sandstone is converted to quartzite and limestone is converted to marble. So in this manner, different type of igneous rocks and sedimentary rocks gets converted to metamorphic rock due to excess heat and pressure. Now we are going to discuss about usefulness of rocks. As you all know, rocks are even very useful to us. The basic use of rocks, they are used for constructing roads, bridges and even buildings. Even rocks are used in different types of games too. And some of the elements are even found in rocks. As we know that minerals are taken out from rocks. So in this manner, rocks are a source of different type of minerals for us. Next we'll be studying about rock cycle. As we have discussed about 3 different types of rocks. So rock cycle is basically a process of transformation of one type of rock into another type of rock. So this process completely is called as a rock cycle. So now we'll be studying about rock cycle and how one type of rock get converted into another type of rock. As we have discussed about the primary rock, which is igneous rocks. Igneous rocks are formed by the cooling and solidification of molten lava. When these igneous rocks are solidified due to some of the weather conditions, due to heavy running water or strong winds, these igneous rocks are broken down into small pieces and results in the formation of sediments. These sediments, when further deposited above each other in layers, result in the formation of sedimentary rocks. And when these sedimentary rocks, if they are exposed to excess heat and pressure for a long period of time, that get converted into metamorphic rocks. And gradually, when these metamorphic rocks under excess of heat and pressure again melts down and converts into magma, and again that process starts, and magma due to internal pressure comes out in the form of lava, and again it solidifies on the surface of the earth, resulting in the formation of igneous rocks. So in this manner this cycle goes on, and it takes thousands of years to complete one rock cycle. So in this manner, the conversion of one type of rock into another type of rock through a continuous process is called as a rock cycle. And it is called as cycle because it continuously acts in the form of a chain and it never stops. Next we are going to study about minerals. As we are discussing from the starting of the chapter that rocks are made up of minerals. So the minerals are inorganic substances which are having a specific chemical composition and physical properties. When we talk about chemical composition and physical properties, it means that a mineral consists of a particular type of element which is having its own physical properties like its appearance, its color, its texture, its hardness or softness, etc. Now we'll be discussing about minerals in brief. Minerals are basically the inorganic substances or non-living elements. Minerals are basically made up of either one element or by a compound which consists of more than one element. Minerals like gold and sulfur, they are made up of one element, and on the other hand quartz is made up of more than one element. Minerals are even crystalline and non-crystalline. It means their appearance is different. Minerals are even metallic and non-metallic. Metallic means the minerals which gives us metals, and non-metallic means the minerals which does not gives us metals. Example of metallic minerals are gold and silver. An example of non-metallic minerals are mica and gypsum. Now we are going to discuss about usefulness of minerals. How minerals are useful to us. As we have discussed that we are getting metals from minerals. So minerals are very important for development or advancement in human life. As metals are used in different purposes. So in the same manner, minerals are also used for the construction of roads, bridges, etc. As we are talking about different types of minerals, they are even used in developing many of our day-to-day life things like computers, sunglasses. All these things are even made up of different type of minerals. Minerals provide us with different type of metals like iron, aluminium, etc. which are very important for making various things which are useful in our day-to-day life. Minerals even provide us various type of precious gems and stones. Even some minerals are used in fields as fertilizers and even used in different types of medicines. So in this manner, minerals form a basic component for the survival of our life, or we can say minerals are equally important for our body also to get proper nutrition and to develop in a proper manner. So in this manner we can conclude the chapter by saying that all these minerals and metals all form the basis of the formation of earth, which in turn leads to the survival of life on earth. So this was all about the chapter. Before winding up, let's discuss some important points. Crust, mantle and core are the three layers of the earth's interior. Rocks are the solid particles made up of mixture of minerals. Igneous, sedimentary and metamorphic are the three types of rocks. Rock cycle is a continuous cycle of change of one type of rock to another type of rock. Minerals are the main components of rocks. So this was the highlights of the chapter. So good day for now. Stay home, stay safe.